Bernstein and Goff on 670 The Score. Mundane sports achievements.
I played 4 years at Polk High. Touchdown Bundy, they used to call me. Made All-City back in '66. 4 touchdowns. And I'm not talking the whole year. One game.
Mundane sports achievements.
Every place I go, they're always asking me about Jordan Lynch. He's been involved in all the drill work. He's watched a lot of film, and he's done everything we've asked of. It's been impressive.
Mundane sports achievements.
Kyle Orton's an amazing quarterback. He just comes in and moves your football team.
Mundane sports achievements.
Joey Chestnut retains the mustard belt. He is the champion.
The passion is raw, but the hot dogs are cooked. That's the most amazing competitive eating contest I have ever seen.
Mundane sports achievements. Dan Bernstein and Jason Goff. Afternoons on The Score.
All we ask is that you get the bit and you tell your story with gusto, and we look forward to hearing it. 312-644-6767. Let's do this, shall we?
Yeah, it's a fun time out here at another Round Bar and Grill.
I can't believe it's 4 o'clock already. It feels like we just got here.
Bud Light guys are stumbling out of the door right now.
There they go.
Bud Light! Right, they drank the bar dry, and now they leave.
My work day is done.
Right. They're going to go be alone now for a little while, dry out, and hit the bars later on tonight as well.
Eric and Joliet starts us off on The Score.
Hello, boys. Thanks for having
me
on. This summer, I got the honor to be invited to a golf outing for Burcott's grocery store chain, and that was my 4th time golfing. So I absolutely had no idea what I was doing, and I luckily got paired up with one of my idols, Scott Podsednik.
And outfielder Scott Podsednik.
There it is. So, yeah, Scott was paired up with us, and I was embarrassed just to try to swing in front of him because my form is probably similar to that of Charles Barkley. So for the entire day, I didn't hit a shot straight, and Scott can absolutely crush the ball and made me feel like the most insignificant human athletically. And then about the 13th hole of the day, it was the turn, and everyone was kind of getting a drink and watching. And par 3, I decided to step up, just absolutely killed the ball low and hard and not very good. But to me, it was the best shot of the day. So I turned around, threw my arms up in happiness, and everyone else did too when the ball went in the hole. And so I got a hole-in-one in front of one of my idols at a sport that I'm terrible at and absolutely don't care about.
Yeah, not the bit. Not the bit.
Yeah,
this is
mundane sports achievement.
we're not
That's
off
an
to
insignificant sports achievement.
But that's an actual sports achievement.
Yeah, a hole-in-one is a hole-in-one.
This is what we're talking about. Craig in Edgewater. I was paying for my coffee at my local cafe. I was holding my son, and my elbow knocked the coffee cup off the counter when I was putting my change into my pocket. So I lunged and caught the cup before it hit the ground without a drop spilling. When I set the cup back on the counter, the girl at the register quoted the movie The Matrix by saying, "You move like they do." I've never seen anyone move that fast.
That's pretty fresh. Yeah. Immediately, you got to start making out. Like that when it comes, that's like, you ask first. But yeah, exactly. Come on over.
You're with me, Leather.
Right. Reward the victor. That's what it is. That's what the bit is about right there.
Zach in DeKalb, you're on The Score.
Fellas,
Zach?
I keep a solo cup in the medicine cabinet for the nights after I have a little too much cab. And I was in a hurry, so I jumped in the shower with the solo cup with the Alka-Seltzer in it, downed it, thought, what am I going to do with this now, standing in the shower? So I took it in sort of a, dart or a beer pong grip with hand over elbow, pinched it, the rim between my thumb and index finger, and just gave it a light waft up over the curtain rod of the shower. I was expecting to hear a big clink, 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 or rattling, whatever, as long as it didn't hit the pinky floor. I figured it'd be good. Done showering, pull back the curtain. The cup is sitting upright in the middle of the sink.
Nice.
See, that's it right there. I think
that's where you say, I wish someone were here to see it, and no one will believe me when I tell the story.
I think most of the sports achievements that are mundane happen to most men from the shower to the receptacle or shower to the toilet when you're just throwing something in and you're like, I think I might have hit that. I'll check afterwards because there might be something all over the floor.
In Eureka, Illinois, Josh says, as a 17-year-old kid working as a dishwasher in a greasy bowling alley kitchen, we were closing down. I was alone. I took a sip of my soda and one ice cube, and in a fluid motion, I spit the ice cube into the air and punted it across the kitchen. The ice cube sailed in a perfect arc over the cart of clean dishes, over the hanging pots and pans above the kitchen island, and splashed perfectly into the small 10 by 10 tub of butter that the cooks used to grease the grill. I threw my arms in the air, gave an incredulous and no one saw that look around the room, and dejectedly crossed the kitchen to clean the tub I just contaminated.
I'm about to say, first of all, you did not do that second part. You're like, oh, that just happened. Yeah, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine.
A bowling alley tub of butter and the grill's gonna
yeah, they expect other people's ice to be in their food anyway.
Come on, please. That's no worries there. This is Michael in Lincolnwood.
Michael, how you doing?
So we're at an apple orchard, and my wife's friend decides that she's going to play a little game of apple dodgeball with her husband. And so she wings a couple in his direction. One of them hits him in the rear end. One of them also goes sailing past me. She decides to hightail it and goes down the lane of the apples, in the apple lane, and she's about a good 50, 55 yards away from us doing jumping jacks. And I looked at her husband and I said, you going to let her get away with it? Are you going to throw one back? So he throws one and it goes in the wrong lane. And so I looked at him and I said, no, you do it like this. And I took one of his apples out of his bag. And by the way, Fuji apples, aerodynamically superior to other varieties.
That's some next-level stuff there, okay.
Yes. So all chefs are dangerous with all food groups when it comes to throwing. Right. And I winged this apple down the lane, and you could see it go across the blue sky, this red dot, and she was doing jumping jacks, taunting us. And as she was in the air, this thing came down and it hit her in the top of the forehead and dropped her like an anchor in the bay. She went straight back on the ground, flat out. The apple exploded off the top of her head. We ran down the lane to see if she was okay. We get to her. She's sitting. Her hair's hanging down over her head. Her shoulders are going up and down. We figure either it's convulsions or she's laughing. She looks up. She pulls her hair back. She's got a red dot on her forehead where the apple hit her, and she's laughing her rear end off. Can't believe that she got tagged from that distance. So her husband, who's a lawyer, turns to me and he says, "Oh, I don't know how to thank you." And I looked at him and I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Now I have my yak story." And I said, "Now I'm really lost. What are you talking about?" And he said, 25 years ago, we went to the zoo. We took our kid to the yak pen to go petting the yak. And the yak immediately spit in my face when I said, "Wow, what a cool yak." For 25 years, she's been telling the yak story at parties and at different socializing events. He says, "Now I've got my yak story." So I just looked at him and I said, "Well, I'm glad I'm doing God's work and bringing your family together by dropping a member of your family with a food group."
We got a BOGO story there for no reason.
Look at everything ended with spitting yak and members of spitting yak. and by the way,
that's a crossword puzzle. What brothers don't do.
I would say, how many letters? Yeah, if you are enjoying a good yak, don't spit.
What the hell?
Yeah. What brothers don't do for 100?
Right. Spitting yak. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
Outstanding. Greg in Champaign, you're on Mundane Sports Achievements on the Score.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Some years back at the newspaper I worked, the guys in the sports department one night decided to make a little basketball court, so they turned a hard hat upside down and parked it in the top of a wastebasket, and that was the basket, and they had about a baseball-sized wad of paper they were using as the ball. So they were they're trying to hit the basket there, the helmet, and I walked over to the sports department because I had a page proof of theirs and gave it to them, and just then one of the rebounds came right over to my feet. So I picked it up, and I on an impulse, I said, "Look, this is how you do it." And from about 8 feet away, facing the wastebasket, I flipped it up from behind my back, up over my head. It arcs perfectly and hits into the helmet, doesn't even move, just boom, dead.
Nice.
And then I thrust my arms in triumph and walked out of the department as my guy behind me goes, "He's just embarrassed all of us."
The conquering hero. Thank you for the call, Greg. Very good. This is from Jordan, the English teacher and speech teacher, who says, I was handing out new ID cards to my current students, and I was left with a few expired ID cards that were just begging to be thrown across the room into the garbage. So my students were a more than willing audience, and I sent the ID card on its journey across classroom 219. And when it left my hand, it soared to the left, directly towards the recycle bin, and my excitement grew, and then it made a sharp right turn in the complete opposite direction. But it seemed fate was my newfound friend. The card made a miraculous second turn back toward the recycle bin, to which I can only attribute the change of direction to some obscure butterfly effect halfway around the world. But this yellow and blue plastic rectangle found its home, diving effortlessly into the bin with incredulous oohs and ahs voiced by my student audience, enhancing my absurd jubilation. Yeah, people who throw cards for a living. Have you seen people that really know how to flick cards?
You'd be like a ninja star.
You ever seen Ricky Jay?
Like cut an apple and stuff?
Into a watermelon.
Yeah.
He can throw a bicycle playing card into a watermelon.
Yeah, I don't want to rock with people like that because then they get mad at you.
Again, things brothers don't
right, I was about to say,
for 200.
Yeah, I'm not. You can't. He's not invited to any of the spades games.
Spitting
ever.
yak
And card throwing. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on that.
In Morton, this is Reed. He is on the score.
Hey guys, I didn't know whether to call in for Daredevil or Dumbass or this one, but I was 15 years old, and me and my buddy were out way late after a curfew, and a cop car pulls up and shines a spotlight on us. So we book, and I'm running toward the woods, and about 10 yards into the woods, I know there's this huge ravine. It's like 20 feet down, rocks and everything. So I just dive. I mean, like Jesus Christ pose, arms out to the sides. My left hand actually snags a branch, and I go out over the ravine and land very, very safely at the bottom of the hillside. So that was my mundane sports achievement for the evening.
All right. That's for a segment. I'm a complete idiot.
That's later.
Yes, we're going to do it.
That's next week.
We will do it another time. We are going to do more of mundane sports achievements after a brief timeout. These are loaded up and ready to go, so keep it here. You got the score. This segment's brought to you by Office Depot Office Max. You've had a big year. Treat yourself to great deals on tech and furniture at Office Depot Office Max. You deserve it. Office Depot Office Max, taking care of business. We're taking care of mundane sports achievements, listening to your stories like this one from James in River Forest on the score.
Hello, gentlemen. I was on vacation a few months ago with my wife, staying in a resort that had a very strict non-smoking rule. But, of course, being the entitled white guy that I am, I decided to sneak on my balcony that was 3 floors up to have a few drags, damn it, yeah. So after about halfway through the cigarette, I decided it's time to throw it out, and I flick it. And as I flick the cigarette off the balcony, I look down and realize the hotel's propane tank is right below our room we're staying at. And the cigarette decides to drop right in between the 3 signs that say extremely flammable, no flames here. So at the moment, I'm kind of freaking out, but I'm also kind of lazy because I'm on vacation, and I try to figure out a way to do it as quickly as possible to extinguish the cigarette. So I decided, give it a try. Why not try to hock a loogie and spit on it? So I rub back, get a good one, let it go, and I mean, never something as disgusting as hocking a loogie looked as majestic as it did, because that thing perfectly landed right on top of the cigarette butt, extinguishing the remaining flame, and I was a hero.
Now I got to ask, though, is it a spiral or is it end over end like a punt?
A little bit of both. That makes any
hybrid.
He threw a Peyton Manning duck?
He was using the hybrid technique.
Nice,
wow,
nice.
Perfect. Thank you,
Way
James.
to save the resort, you irresponsible bastard.
Stan in Peoria is on the score. What's happening, Stan? Yes.
What up, buddy?
In 1981, I played in a small high school in downstate Illinois, and we were fortunate enough to make it to the sectional basketball tournament, which was held at ISU and Horton Fieldhouse back in those days. And at the end of the first quarter, and they were playing both games in one night instead of on different nights, so there were 5,000 or 6,000 people there. At the end of the first quarter, the other team lost the ball out of bounds. We had to go length of the court. There was 1 second left. The referee handed me the ball. I was taking the ball out of bounds. I looked down, and our 6'7" All-State center was underneath the basket, and I threw a full-court pass, and I swished it right through the hoop.
Okay.
Boring.
So that happened. Kevin in Champaign says, I was in college drinking with my buddies. My friend and I are on a balcony. Other friend below. We're 20 feet up and 20 feet away. I bet my friends a case of beer I could spit into a beer can 20 feet below. They took the bet. I lined it up and nailed the shot. To this day, my friends can believe it. Nobody believes it when I tell it. But I did get that case of beer.
I got to get times on that, though. Like, is that a one-time deal?
That's what it sounds like. I'm assuming so, unless they say it's like the Dude Perfect guys that do it 150 times, right?
Measure for wind and all those other things. That's you earned that case of beer, man.
Schaumburg, here's Jim. He's on the score.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Jim.
Hey.
Hey, this goes back to grade school. School had just let out. I was with three of my buddies, and we just walked outside, and this blackbird's sitting up on top of the gymnasium wall. And it's just crowing away up there. And back then, everybody brought their lunch to school, or otherwise you didn't eat. So my one buddy goes, watch this. He opens up his lunchbox, grabs an Oreo cookie, and throws it sidearm. This thing's like a Chris Sale curveball, hits him right in the belly. He takes off flying, crowing away. To this day, whenever we get together, we tell that story. It was an unbelievable shot.
I'd love to be at one of those reunions. Because
hey, remember that time when the guy hit you in the belly with an Oreo cookie?
Welcome. They'll be standing graveside with the first guy. Like, who's going to tell the bird story?
Remember that time Brad got hit in the gut? Yeah, that was cool. I hated Brad.
Lamont, Chris, you're on the score.
How's it going, guys? So heading up to bed with the kids, and as kids do, they leave stuff everywhere. And pick up my son's dirty shirt. He's standing between me and his laundry basket about 10 feet away. I'm like, this is how you clean up, buddy. Take the shot over his head, right in the laundry basket. He turns around, sees it went in. He's like, you shooted it in. He turns around and looks at me like I just hit a buzzer beater. But if you put a basketball in my hands, I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Of course not. Of course not.
Teach your kid the past tense of shoot.
Oh,
Come on.
That's a cute moment.
Yeah. Look, that's the teaching moment.
Oh, my God.
That's the teaching moment there. We don't. People in our family don't say shoot it.
It's a 2-year-old.
No, he was 16.
He's filling out applications.
I'm picturing it's a 16-year-old kid. Daddy, you shooting it in.
On Friday?
The problem with that, though, honestly, the problem with that is then the kid turns laundry into basketball. And my feeling is whatever it takes to get the stuff into the hamper. If you want to make a game out of it, that's
definitely.
Fine. Yeah.
Clean up your damn room.
Right, we'll do a couple more after an update.
You just heard from the camper.
Here's the camper. We're doing mundane sports achievements because we can, and because the current climate in Chicago sports is begging for it.
20 straight losses for Chicago sports teams. You've got 5 games in a row for the Hawks. You've got the 10 for the Chicago Bulls.
They're
and
rushing
5 for the Bears.
Rushing Corey Crawford back to beat the Sabres.
Hey, you don't want to give up 5 goals again. You got Jack Eichel in the boards.
I'm still waiting for you to name another one.
I'm still waiting for you to name another Sabre in.
Dave in Western Springs.
It's not Dave in Western Springs.
Hey, Dave.
How are you, gentlemen?
What up, Dave?
Hey, well, my story is I ended up having a water balloon launcher when I was in middle school. So the way this thing worked, you needed 3 people to fire it. It's made of surgical tubing. It was awesome. You could fire it a block and a half. It was a way to waste the summer. The way it worked out was we had a neighborhood kid see us firing this thing a block who ended up going, there's no way you can hit me with that thing. And we're like, okay. He hopped on his bike, went down this block to the other side of the park, and just started doing serpentine side to side. I ended up hitting him on the fly, first shot, and knocked him clean off his bike while he wasn't looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. Anytime we do this bit, I think about my only achievement like that, where I'm a good 350 feet from a young girl who was riding a bicycle who was making fun of me when I was like 7, 8 years old. And I've never had.
You shot her in the leg.
I've never had good aim, but I picked up a pebble and just launched it while she
350 feet.
She was at the end of a block. We lived on Lake Endero.
If you could throw anything 350 feet, you're Vladimir Guerrero.
From the other end of the block, pretty much. I lofted it in the air while she was moving, and I'm like, it's not going to hit her. And all I hear is, ah! And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, yeah, I did just hit her. And I went down there. I apologized to her parents. But anytime we do this segment, I think about Jessica Lindo. And I want to apologize every time I hear this segment.
Your father was Delroy, unfortunately. This is Dave, who says,
old face.
25 years ago, my then girlfriend was coming to pick me up at my apartment complex. I lived in the back. I walked out to the main entrance. There's a basketball court. I was taking a few shots, and I was shooting. I saw her car pull in, started to drive past me. So I threw the small basketball at her car, trying to get her attention. It sailed toward the car, went through the half-rolled-down window, and hit her square in the face. I eventually married that woman. And she eventually divorced me. he said it, I didn't.
I know, but, at least he's come to grips with it.
In Arlington Heights, here's Byron. He's on WSCR.
Hey, guys. How are you?
All right.
Good.
Hey, mine goes back to high school, unfortunately. I wish there was something more recent. But in any event, we used to go to Woodfield in the summertime.
We're going to have to put you on hold and wait for your cell to clear up because it sounds like you're underwater.
You're on Bruce Levine's phone.
Dennis in Kenosha, you're on the score.
Hey, my achievement happened almost 30 years ago to the day. I was in basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. We're getting all our Class A's getting inspected, ready to go home for the Christmas holiday. And the drill sergeants were on the other end of the barracks, wherever it is, doing the other rooms. So we started pitching quarters. How close you can get a quarter to the wall and win money and so forth. The guy that was doing the lookout for us said they're coming, and out of either fear or panic, I dropped the quarter, and it landed on its edge. Not on the heads, not on the tails, but on the edge. And we just stood there amazed.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. Wait, how?
It's possible. I don't know, maybe.
What kind of magnetic barrier were you around that
Anything's possible.
No, that's not true. Anything is not possible.
No, it's an
Absolutely,
Army base.
100%. Swear to God. And there's like 5 of us in this room, and we're like, oh, shit. Look,
Whoa! There's that now. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I guess anything is possible.
Yeah, Brandon in Wicker Park says, friends and I were golfing on a crowded and slow course and lots of downtime. And we ran parallel to train tracks on this one hole. And as luck would have it, a long, slow-moving freight train was going by while we're waiting for the green to clear. The immediate consensus is we need to start trying to hit this train with a golf ball. So after a couple tries, I hit a low screamer 3-wood right off the side of a round tanker car. It made a loud, satisfying boing noise, and we all stood and did the Beavis and Butthead laugh for a couple seconds. We thought that was the end of it, and a few more seconds go by, and then 3 feet from where I hit my shot, there was a thud. I had hit the tank car at just the proper angle to send the ball off the moving freight train, straight back up in the air, and right back to us. Yeah, how about that?
That sounds like the story. Well, a casino where they run out of gas flying over the golf course because they're monitoring Nikki, and they have to land on the fairway. He's like, $100 to the first guy who hits the plane, and they all just start taking off at it.
Last one is going to be Dave in Elgin, our final mundane sports achievement.
A lot of pressure, Dave.
Dave.
Hey, guys. How you doing today? Mine goes back 20 years ago. I was at a construction topping off party. We were all drinking. We were on the second floor, trying to break it up, head out home. I was coming down the stairs. I lost my footing, fell down the stairs, looked like a big old tumbleweed, tumbling down the stairs. Ended up on my feet at the bottom of the stairs, not one broken bone, no broken legs or nothing.
So you stuck the landing of falling down the stairs?
Yep. Ended up right at the bottom of the stairs, right on the landing. Feet up.
Wow. Good for you. I'm sure you tried many times after that as well.
I mean, that's why if you're his friend, you say, hey, I bet you can't do that again.
Right. I bet you can't fall down drunk.
I bet I can.
Tumble down a flight of steps. All right, this was fun.
It's a score Christmas party there.
Well, or score midday host. This was fun, though.
Well handled.
Yeah.
Nicely played.
Yeah, you guys dug up an old segment and made it cool. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.